Hello, everyone. Andrew Taylor here. We have Naim Abdullahad with us and Erika Walker spending a week at the office.
Loving it.
It's been a fun week. You guys are killing it.
Glad to be here.
Naim, you're 27 years old.
Yes,
You've helped 18 families in 1 week.
absolutely.
And your team is a VP or sales manager?
We did 111 in March, so
Sales manager.
Sales manager?
Yep, almost
Okay.
VP.
sales manager. Okay.
Awesome, man. Now, you actually came up with something that you wanted to share, which was...
Yeah. So with Josh. Well, okay. So for me, I was actually in the field when I first started. I did pretty well in the field, and for me, when we rolled out the Telesales business model, I was one of the last people to actually commit to it.
Yeah.
It was
Besides me. Because I feel like I'm too awkward on the phone. And I'm awkward in the home too, but I can get away with it a little bit.
Well, for me, it was the concept was, do you just want to be a producer or do you want to grow a business? I told Josh, I'm like, yeah, I want to grow a business, right? So, as things progressed, I watched everybody that plugged in, their business took off, right? And I was just like, man, why I fell behind. I was like, why did I fall behind? What happened? Josh was like, you're still halfway in, halfway out. You're still doing a hybrid schedule, going in the field sometimes. You haven't really mastered telesales, so you need to commit to it so you can master it, And ultimately, one day I was like, all right, I'm tired of this. I started buying leads out of state, so I couldn't drive to them. So it forced me to call them,
Now pause real fast. One of the beautiful things is you can't have a lead shortage.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
True.
Absolutely.
But if you're only running local appointments in your zip code, it's easy to have a lead shortage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I like that. I mean, once I got it down, I think that it showed me its virtues. And then, January we went to convention. We had convention coming up. January was when we kind of started, my team and everything. We probably did 25 families that month, nothing crazy. But, as time went on, I was trying to be humble but realistic. I was like, let's double and then double again. So I wanted to do 50 families and then 100 families, right? And February rolled around. I was gone for a week. We had convention. We only probably did 35 families that month. So I was like, man, we're off course a little bit. But March rolled around and I was like, all right, let's buckle down. Everybody, we're all hands on deck and 111 families.
Okay, so you also talked about you in this business you're self-employed, but you can also be self-employed and pretend or trick yourself like you're working.
Absolutely.
And
That was Naim.
that was Naim.
Yeah. When I first started, I guess we're kind of spoiled in a sense because our comp's so great,
And he was at another
Dude.
company before with not so great comps. So I think for him, he was like, shoot, I'm living life.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was minimal effort produced way more results than I was producing at the other company I came from.
So would you say if you come work with us, which people that are watching this, we put all of our secrets out for free on YouTube. And someone goes, dude, you're giving competitors your secrets. And I go, dude, I don't think we have any competitors at this point.
Factual.
Not at all.
Factual.
But I
basis.
also said, someone had told me one time that the CIA would send people into the Hells Angels undercover. And then they wouldn't know if they were with the CIA or the Hells Angels because they'd be like, dude, they'd become a part of this family and get sucked in. And I always tell people, someone goes, well, yeah, these competitors watch all your stuff. And I go, tell them to be careful.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, factual. I mean, what I will say is that, no pun intended, there's a lot more integrity here, right? There's a lot more people doing what they say, honoring, what they tell you they're going to do, and to me, that's where I want to be, right? When Josh, I know that when he tells me something, we're going to move forward and we're going to get it done.
Okay. So going back to this though, we were talking about you could work, which I always said, you don't want to work you can work part-time or full-time, but you don't want to work on your spare time
Absolutely.
because that's when you don't get results.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Was there a point where you were working on your spare time?
Yeah, I think I was when I got the hang of in-homes, I was just kind of doing it as needed. Like I took my whole birthday month off, September. I had a great time, but when I got back, there was a huge hole I had to dig out of. So I learned from that, and I was like, consistency really trumps it all, right? It's better than having one big week and then not doing anything.
And you're from Phoenix?
No, I'm originally from Newark, New Jersey. I came to Phoenix in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you guys friends?
Yeah, I actually met her at the starter company.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, did you quit? Did you come here when she came here?
No. I originally came when Josh came.
Okay.
Yeah, and so like when I came with Josh, it was like me, Melanie Montoya, her, Orlando. It was kind of us as the starter. Oh, Vanessa, can't forget Vanessa Powell. So all of us were kind of like the start of what became Knockout, and then it just full speed ahead from there.
Tell us about, just so people can get some context of what you guys are doing. What is Knockout accomplished in? This is the agency you guys work with in what, a year?
Yeah.
It's been a year.
Fastest growing agency.
But what does that mean?
Protected over
Millions of families?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what we're at this point, we're doing, I don't even know, man. Probably,
We're helping a lot of families.
yeah,
Sorry.
probably what, 2,000? 2,000 a month?
2,000 families a month.
Yeah.
Roughly
roughly
2,000 families a month.
Yeah.
Okay, so and you guys are doing this by creating this environment on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Workspace.
It's a workspace on Zoom where you guys all work together from wherever you are.
Exactly.
We
Exactly.
have agents all across the U.S. and we train them. I've trained 99% of my agents on Zoom.
So people watching this, if they wanted to work with you guys,
Absolutely.
are you guys hiring non-licensed agents?
Yep. We're hiring licensed, non-licensed. It doesn't matter where you are. You can just, all you need is a laptop. You tune in on Zoom, we can train you.
Okay. So I want to get into scheduling because I think a common thing in this business, at least for me, and Erika, you could tell us if you did this. I would want to, if I was my own boss at first, I would have fired myself. Because I'm like waking up at 9, 10. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do today? By the time I make my daily schedule, it's lunchtime, and I'm like, "What's for lunch?" and then shortly after, I'm like, "It's dinner time."
Yeah. Day's gone.
And then I'm like, "Dude, those leads suck."
Yeah.
Yep.
And then my buddy's like, "How many dials did you make?" I'm like, 27. He's like, "Dude, if you worked at Walmart, you would have made like $9 because that's like in half hour's worth of work."
That's facts.
All right. But how do we create a realistic schedule? Realistic. That someone can use to potentially have the most success?
Well, I mean, I think that, again, with this business, we're spoiled in the sense that we can create our own schedule. But, what I noticed is when you're selling, it's all about, or when you're, protecting families, it's all about being sharp, being present, right? And then also, like, you can't have a bunch of distractions going on, right? So if you know that, your children get home at a certain time, it's probably best that you work when they're not home or when they're not going to be taking your attention away from what you're doing. So what I always tell the people I work with is to set a schedule that works for you and stick to it. But for me, normally what I do is we open the Zoom up at about 7 o'clock Arizona time. I normally get on, and in the morning I try to get all my carrier calls, agent calls, and stuff out the way. By about 9 o'clock, once I'm like, I've been up for a little bit, my brain's running, I'm sharp now, that's when I'll start selling. And then once I'm doing that, that's what I'm doing. Like, everyone knows, like, okay, if you need help, get on Zoom, ask Naim for help because he's on Zoom dialing. Right?
Oh, so if you want help, you have to ask on Zoom.
If I'm dialing, I can't take my calls and take my phone if I'm working, right? That's why I try to tell
that'd
people.
be a good thing to tell agents, right?
I do. I tell them if they ask a question and they text me, the first thing I go is, I don't see you on Zoom. Like, I'm on Zoom looking, and then they hop on.
Exactly. They'll be like, oh, okay, hold on, right? Get on
Because
Zoom.
there's literally so much help on Zoom.
Exactly.
There's so many leaders on Zoom every day
Mm-hmm.
to ask.
And I always tell people, if you're not going to plug into the system we created, that's completely okay. But you can't be mad about the fact that you lack support. The
Or
support,
not getting the results.
yeah, your support would be here if you plugged in, right? And that's really how we make it very black and white for them. Tune in and you'll get all the help and support everyone else gets. And eventually people start to realize it, because then they'll start getting on, seeing how welcoming everybody is, seeing how like helpful everybody is, and then it progresses from there. Now they're like, okay, yeah, I want to get on Zoom.
And you went from now. Is your schedule just be on Zoom? Is that your schedule?
Like in general, yeah, we are. Now that I'm in management, I mean, I work like probably from when I wake up to when we close the Zoom down at 7. But I had to work out something that worked for me, because when I first wake up, I'm not that sharp. I'm one of those people that's like brain dead. Like that's me.
Do you drink coffee?
Yeah. Once it kicks in, I'm like, okay, yeah, But when I first wake up,
What time do you go to bed?
It depends. It depends on the night. I
try to take any sleeping pills or anything.
No. I'm just one of those people that I've always been kind of it takes a little bit for me to get going. Once I get going, I'm sharp. So what I worked out for me that works best is don't do other stuff other than selling when when you're not sharp. So like if I first wake up, my goal is to help my agents, or make sure I'd call my carriers if I need to, get all that stuff out the way. So once I start working, I'm just dialing, I'm just taking calls, helping people on Zoom. I'm focused, right? And that's kind of because it's easy to get distracted or get sidetracked because you're at your house. You're just on the computer. And so for me, like once I got a workflow going, that was when things started to come together. Right?
Scheduling is huge.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I tell people, because people will ask, me, what's your secret, and it's like, dude, you need to be consistent and you have to have a set schedule.
Well, your mom is killing it, and
Yeah.
she said all she does is work hard.
Yep. Shout out to
Yep.
Mama D.
Dude, she's a
Love her to
freaking
death. Love her to
beast.
death. She's great.
I know. Everyone on the team calls her Mama D.
Yep.
Oh.
She loves it.
She's
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, they call her Mom. It's so cute.
And she listens, and that's the biggest thing, is just understanding that your trainers and stuff are there to help you. I get a lot of people, and they think that we're telling them these things for our health.
Okay, so there's a lot of people that are not successful in insurance.
Absolutely.
If they call you and they're willing to work, they can go in your Zoom. They have that support while you guys are selling in front of them, so they can see you sell.
Yep.
Live.
How many people can get on one Zoom?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. I think I have it at maxed out right now at like 200 people. You can always up it too.
Yeah, we got room for you.
So what's your number if they want to call you?
Okay, so 480-955-1024.
And they could work with both you guys.
Yes, they get me, you get Erika. As far as things go with me, I just want to create an environment where everybody wants to come.
Now, do you guys have like high cancellations selling over the phone? Is this
No.
cancellation higher?
No.
I think it's less, honestly, because
Why?
if you think about it, like when you're in home, I think of it always like for myself. Like if I'm in person with somebody and someone's not as maybe bold as I am to be like, I don't want it, I'm not giving you my information, that they're just going to give you their information with the wrong account number or something, or call and cancel.
Oh, you're
the
saying
next
you don't
day.
have the pressure of them telling you no to your face. If they're going to say
Yeah.
yes, if they're going to say no, they could just hang up on
Exactly. So if they don't want a policy, they're hanging
you. So
up.
do you think that happens more often? No sales are more common over the phone?
I think so. Well, I mean,
I think for me, the reason why I think it's different is because your point of contact. So the
Yeah.
relationship that you create with a person in person is face to face. So once you leave, maybe you're in Florida, you don't live there. Once you leave and they don't see you face to face anymore, a lot of times they're not as good with keeping in touch with you. But with
If your relationship starts on the phone,
it starts on the phone. That's what they have. So they're answering your calls, they're answering your text messages, because that's the entire relationship was on the phone.
interesting.
You see what I'm saying? So for me, I don't have as much problem getting those people back on the phone than I did when I was in home.
Well, but we still have a lot of people that are doing great in the field. So
Absolutely.
I don't like them to think, oh, I have to stop what I'm doing that's doing well.
do whatever's working
Absolutely.
for you.
Do whatever's
Absolutely.
working for you.
We have people on our agency that are in home.
Yeah.
Dude, I have to say I would do both.
Mhm.
Like if they're local, I'd go see them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if I could put him in my schedule, I'd go see him, but I'd also go, if I want to help more families, hop on and go close some deals too.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I tell people is like, if you work in a place where, maybe the lead flow is pretty solid and you can keep it going, keep them trickling in, and it makes sense, then yeah, run your locals.
But let's say you live on an iceberg in Alaska. You could kill it in telesales.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or if you just live in a place where maybe a lot of people are working. Like in Arizona, there's a lot of people working.
Okay, so I've heard this. Tell me if this is true. If you get leads in areas that are not really populated, that the response is way better because they're not getting blown up by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have noticed that.
You have noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
So rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
Always outside major cities.
Yes.
Like someone said Alaska is literally a gold mine. They're like, dude, I'm crushing it in Alaska on telesales because no one ever
I
calls
sold
them.
quite a bit in Alaska.
For me, a lot of people, they might not agree with me on this, but for me, California, all of the state, because there's a lot of big cities in California, but I get transfers and different stuff from people that are in small towns that are outside of those big cities, and those are great, wonderful. I love
There's
California.
a lot of dude, California, like if you look in the CRM, how many leads are in there?
So many.
A lot.
You think FFL is like if it's too late of an opportunity, dude, California is completely 100% wide open.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
I love Cali. I protect tons of families, telesales in Cali.
And the leads are always like replenishing themselves on the
Constantly,
CRM.
yeah.
Literally the next day they're back. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
big.
It's huge.
And that was one of my things. It was like when I was at a previous company, we were running out of leads, and here being able to buy leads and be in control of that is huge. But also people will ask, well, are they ever going to run out? That's a lot of people's concern. And it's like, truly no. Like I'll buy out all the leads in a little county, and then the next day I get an alert that there's 200 more. You're like, dang,
Exactly.
It really never. There's so much
and we have so much freedom to explore, different options, and that's why I always tell people, like, one option is the death of a business. Have more than one option. Buy more licenses, create more opportunity. That's why I tell people, because I came from a company where I used to literally have to beg my upline just to get 20 leads that were beat up already.
So crazy.
So I'm like, when I look back at this, I'm like, man, I can sign into the CRM.
They were free though.
Yeah, they were free. But I had to, pull teeth just to get 20 beat up leads. And then when I go all week and don't protect the family, now I'm, in a tough spot, and I'm going to my upline like, can I get some more leads? They're like, well, didn't you work the ones I gave you? I'm like, now it's like, I don't have to worry about that. They used to make it seem like having to buy leads was literally like the worst thing in the world. And I'm like, if it means that you can freely control your lead flow.
And you have high carrier contracts.
Yeah. It's like, it makes.
Up to 145%.
Yep.
It's like.
Stupid bonus system.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, yeah.
Yeah, and then they had like a lot of, I came from a company that had a lot of unrealistic qualification, like retention type stuff, right? So any little thing, people canceling, you're having to bait and switch people, they cancel. Enough people cancel, you can literally get your entire advance decreased by like at least half. And I'm like, see, that's just, that to me, when I'm thinking back and I'm here, I was a baby in the business. I was brand new to financial services. Now that I know what I know.
What'd you do before?
I was in food service for 5 years, restaurant worker and restaurant manager.
Nice.
Yeah.
What kind of restaurant?
It was casual dining. I took pride in it, but I got to a point where I was like, man, I'm not going to really be able to move much higher here. I was 19 and was running the whole store. I was like, got to do something else. And, thankfully, I had a friend, got into financial services. I reached out to him. I asked what he was doing. I honestly thought he was doing illegal stuff. I was like, how are you, and then he explained it to me. So I went and started studying for my license. And I found myself at that company, and it was just crazy because I thought it was the biggest blessing in the world. I thought it was like the end-all, be-all, best thing ever because I had never experienced anything else. I came from very, very, very humble beginnings. So this was huge. Like, just even being able to go in was huge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, at this point, I'm here, and I just feel like, all of the agents that are working at these other companies and IMOs and different stuff, they just need to understand the structure of how the business works for when it comes to financial services, because through and through, there's no holes in it. FFL is the best option that you could choose if you want to, be able to take home the most money for your family and also create an opportunity for, agents to come and grow a business.
Now,
right?
what would you say to someone that goes, FFL sucks?
I would just tell them, for one, what do you know about the company? Because they probably don't know much. Or two, have you worked with us? Have you ever heard of Knockout?
I had somebody say that to me, the same thing the other day. I go, have you ever looked at FFL? No. And then, why is that? Whatever. And then they go, because FFL sucks. I literally looked at it and laughed.
Yeah, I'm
All
like,
right. So I have some legit questions. I'm really curious about. Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
When you're doing your Zoom, all the people you work with are probably not positive, and you probably have some trolls in your Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
That just the world's ending, and everything they do is a mess, and they're vocal about it. Does that screw up like everybody else, or how do you manage that?
Well, I think that the ultimate, and I just had to, kind of deal with something like that not too long ago. But what I think it is the cool thing about Zoom as well is that there's a remove button. You can make it so people can't sign into your Zoom. It's like, so if, and you also have breakout rooms. So like you can split off, have a one-on-one. Hey, listen, if you need help, if you whatever we need to do, let's work on it.
So if someone needs help, you could split off into a separate chat room
and talk one-on-one.
And you guys do that with people
all the time. Yeah.
When we have new agents presenting, we'll go into a breakout room, and then a manager goes in and helps them.
Maybe this will help because the way we format our Zoom specifically is like main room is for dialing. So everyone's muted in the main room. Once we get someone on the phone, they unmute. Obviously, like if you got someone on the phone and someone else is unmuted, just let them finish their call. But you want to constantly have people unmuting, and you unmute at hello. Everyone gets to hear from hello to grab a pen and paper, John, so we can start this presentation. Once they get a pen and paper, they're ready for the presentation. You announce what room you're going to. Hey guys, I'm going to room 3. Move to room 3 and finish your presentation. If you have trainees that want to watch you, they can hop into that room and watch it. If you're new and you need your trainer there to help you, they can hop in and watch it with you, right? And then, like I said, meetings as well, one-on-ones and stuff, we can do those in the side rooms too.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say to someone that goes, these leads suck, but other people are doing good?
I normally sit down with them and we go over the metrics. I'm like, okay, so
what if they get back on next? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I want to hear this.
No, my main thing that I do is I always tell people, men and women lie and numbers don't. So Phone Burner keeps track of all of your calls. I tell them, get on Zoom, because you can share your screen on Zoom. We get into a private room. They're like, oh, I've been calling all day and I got nothing. How many calls did you do? I don't know. Go to Phone Burner real quick and share your screen. It tells you right on the dashboard how many calls you made. And I'm like, okay, if you did 100 calls today, 120 calls, you were probably in reality dialing out to someone probably every 5 minutes. Like, what were you doing in between that? You weren't punching the phone. Definitely weren't. So we need to get those dials up, 500, 600. Once those dials say 500, 600, then we can look at something else. But just like we learned from Zach Tardowski, a lot of times they'll come at you with something and that won't be the root of the problem. So don't even touch on anything else until you find the root. So for me, I'm like, okay, what were your metrics?
Activity always wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you hold people accountable by that, because you can feel something, right? I feel like these leads suck, that this, is not working. And then it's like, let's look at the data, and when you pull it up, people take ownership. It's like, look at everybody else. They're putting in the work. That's what they're getting the results, and I think on our Zoom, we're really fortunate for, every agency has people that are negative. It's life, every work environment. But I feel like they have a way of weeding themselves out. Like it's almost like the positivity outgrows the
That's
negative.
a good point. So I always said that when I had like 10 people on our team when we were first growing, 8 of them were negative. So every new person we brought in, they would be majority would win.
Yeah.
So I started going, dude, I'm just going to work with the people they're at least positive about life.
Mm-hmm.
And then people started coming in. Majority were positive, not just positive. Majority were working, and majority were making sales. The new person that came in then, they were positive, working, and making sales. And then occasionally you'd get the person that would try to throw a wrench in everything, but the positivity was so high that they'd freak out and they'd just be like, I can't stand this.
That's kind of what's happened with our Zoom. Like the people that are negative, they just get off. Because we're all like, we work. Like everybody on our team that plugs in is a hard worker. We've built, it's not no one doing anything special. We have a very good work ethic. And I think people coming in when they have that poor me, the negative, nothing ever works for me, they see everyone else around having success because they work and they just stop showing up on Zoom.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, what it comes down to, right, is your work ethic and your ability or your desire to want to learn. Because I reach out, like recently had a dry spell, like 4 days straight.
Those suck.
Yeah, and I called everybody. I called Erika, Josh, Orlando.
What'd you say? Am I okay?
Yeah,
Should I quit?
I'm like, am I saying something like wrong? Do I sound different? Right? And then Erika was like, no, just come over. So I went over and worked with her side by side. And what was funny is she was in her room dialing. I was in my room. I was in the living room. She literally didn't even do anything. I was just at her house, and then protected 2 families. And I was like, okay, something was wrong with my energy. Dude, you know what I mean?
So I had 40 no sales in a row, in person.
Oh my gosh!
And then I had 25 sales in a row following that.
Wow.
And I always tell people, is there any coincidence that I met with 40 people that wouldn't buy and then 25 people in a row that would buy? No. It was crazy. What I was saying, how I was acting.
Yep.
It was me.
Yeah.
Yep. I was wondering. I was trying to weed it out. I remember I called Orlando last, and Orlando was like, because Orlando was training buddies with me. Me and him were in the field for 2 weeks straight. So me and him were like brothers. So he was like, bro, you don't even sound like yourself right now.
Dude, what's cool about you though is you're humble enough to be like, yo, what's going on?
Oh yeah. I always tell people.
And you're doing well, and you're still willing to do that. That's cool.
Well, I always tell people if I could attribute anything to me being able to go from taking it serious in January to hitting logo by March, was that for one, I am willing to learn from anyone. I don't care who it is. You know, you could be brand new. If you do something that I never got to do or I never accomplished, I'm gonna be like, what did you do? Teach me. Let me bring it to the rest of the team. So to me, because of the fact that I give the glory away to the top and to the bottom, whoever I reached out to, it doesn't matter where they are, they're always willing to help. It doesn't matter if they're on my team. It doesn't matter if they're, you know what I'm saying? Like I reach out to people from all over FFL, and they're always like willing to help me because I'm not here to, blow my head up. I don't care about none of that. That's not me. So I'm more so here because I want to create a lane for people because I didn't have nobody to do that for me when I started in this industry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what's motivating you to do this?
Well, first it started with my family. We all, like I said, started off with very humble beginnings. So my goal is to be the first millionaire in the family. I grew up with academians as parents. They told me I wouldn't be successful without a college degree. I told them, well, what if I become the first millionaire in the family without a piece of paper to define what I'm capable of? What are you going to say then? So that's kind of like where it started in this whole thing. What'd they say? They to this day, they still it's hard. It's like they see the progress I'm making. So it's like they support me somewhat.
But they're doubting you
still. That's how my dad was too.
And it's okay, it's okay. The way I look at it is it's like most of the time the people closest to you are going to see the vision once it's in front of them, right? And I said, okay, so if it takes, me making it to integrity for them to see that, that's fine. So it started there, and then from there it became bigger than myself once I got a team. Because that's always what I wanted. I wanted to grow a business and have a team full of people where I look to my left and to my right and I see people better than me.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say you have just to go back on something. You are talking to an agent and they're putting in the activity, but they're not getting results.
I will literally, and I can attest to this. She can too. I've done it with some of my trainees. They'll be like, Naim, your production took a dip this week. I'll be like, that's because I'm in every single presentation that this person's doing. So if I have someone who I know, that I promise.
So you're literally Dang.
Yeah, for the first couple of days.
What if you do that and then it still doesn't work?
Then we gotta sit down and figure out what it is.
I don't think we've ever had that happen.
Yeah. Normally with me, if I'm on with you and I'm sitting through each sit, normally by the end of the week you've gotten the gist of it.
Now, what if they're just not going to invest in leads and it's kind of like
I use an analogy for that one. I'm big on perspective, so I let people know. I'm like, okay, maybe a lot of times what gets people to stop investing in leads is maybe they bought a lead pack and they didn't get the results they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So
which happened to you for 4 days.
Yeah. And it has happened to me countless times prior. It happens. I've bought lead packs, didn't go the direction I wanted. Maybe I could only close one family or so, or protect one family, or maybe I just didn't, get my ROI back. It's part of the game. I always look at it that way. It's because like I invest in different things. You take losses and you take profits along the way when it comes to a business. So that's just like something I already knew. But when I deal with people that are going through that, normally I go over it with them, and if they're like, oh yeah, I bought leads, I can't seem to pull anything out of this one. I don't know if I don't want to buy another one because I haven't been able to. So normally what I'll do is I'll sit down with them and I'll go over it. And then once we map out a game plan and I know that they have a clear head on their shoulders to move forward, I hit them with this analogy. If you had a car and one tire blew out and you were on the side of the street, would you slash all three of the other ones and just say, I'm not going anywhere at all? I'm just not going to go nowhere? Or would you patch that tire up and keep it moving? You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, you know what? You're right. I'm like, okay, this is your vehicle. So what? The tire busted. Like, you just buy another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's all I tell them. I'm like, you're basically choosing to not work at all or not produce results at all because of one roadblock.
Okay, let's say they don't put the activity in and they're not getting results, but they keep showing up.
Mm-hmm. Then from there, it's just, it's all about time management. We got to work on your time management. Sit down.
Do you ever tell them go do something else?
Yes.
Yeah, I have. There's been times where I've let people know, look, if you're not going to work, I think the only time I would do that is if they're just refusing to work. If you're refusing to work.
But it's easy to say you're working, but your day's filled with, washing your car, washing your dishes, picking up your kid from school, getting Starbucks, and then it's lunchtime. You made 28 dials, and.
And I think that's one thing, like when a new person comes in or even a seasoned agent, you can, if you don't have a schedule, like I literally have everything in my schedule blocked off. This is my recruiting time. This is my dialing time. This is my helping agent time. Because let's be real, you can find busy work here if you want to. I needed to call this carrier. I needed to do this training. I need to know more about this product. And it's like, that doesn't make you money. And so you can easily, that happens often. I don't feel like not as often with us because we set such a standard coming in. Like, you have to have money to invest in leads. If you don't, you need to go get a job until you have that. So that's never an issue about investing into your business. And then as far as your schedule, we set the expectations of, so it's like you're micromanaging them, but you're not, right? You're really just laying out a roadmap of, like he said in the beginning, hey, what's your schedule look like? Let's stick to it. And everybody, that's what he did. Like, he's not a morning person. So he's on dialing later than I'm up at 5 a.m. normally every day. So I'm on Zoom at 7:30.
She gets out of bed just like.
I know.
Birds chirping.
And probably goes to bed like that too.
Yeah. I'm like, me, like I wake up and my brain needs some time to catch up to the rest of me.
I'm like that a little bit too, though.
Yeah, it's always been, and don't get me wrong, I have always been awful at being up for things. So like even just like me setting a schedule and being disciplined enough to commit to it, it took some doing. It took some work. It was me meeting with Erika. She's like, yo, you're not getting on Zoom at a consistent time every day, right? We need to work on a schedule for you. And that was, way back in like probably January. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I'm like trying to figure out something that works for me where I'm like sharp,
Have you guys heard about the agent that started dialing at 6 a.m. Pacific and he was dialing East Coast leads?
What?
And then he dialed until midnight because by the time 9 o'clock rolled around, he was calling in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And he wrote like 60 applications.
Dang.
That's insane.
I always tell people, if they go, dude, if you really want it, do you really want it? Because like you could go crazy.
There's no excuse, I feel like,
excuse.
especially for telesales. And I've said that to people, you know, if they're new and they're not getting the results they want, it's like your work ethic will outweigh anything. Like, we're not great at selling. We just work hard. Like, there's so many time zones to utilize.
Yep.
Like, there were times that if in the beginning, I was going for a big month, my first month, and I didn't hit where I was at, and I was dialing Hawaii until 11 o'clock.
Exactly.
You know, it's how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
And that's what I would tell people. It's like, for me, the reason why excuses don't work with me is because I have every excuse in the world. Like I got diagnosed with ADHD since I was a little kid. I have trouble. I've been the little kid swinging around in this chair since I was in kindergarten. But I always tell people, I'm like, you know, yeah, for me, sitting down in front of Zoom and working, it took me some doing to like get used to it, right? But in reality, it's like find a way to keep you in that seat so you can work and maximize your time. I go in like Erika. Erika, even though she doesn't watch it, she has the TV on in the background. She doesn't watch it, but it's just on, right? Me, I was spending a lot of time just on my phone scrolling through Instagram. And then I was like, you know what? I need to make this more constructive. So now when I'm in between calls and I'm on my phone scrolling through Instagram, I'm messaging people about the opportunity. So now it like makes sense to do it, right?
I was like, do something productive at least.
Yeah, because I noticed that was the only thing keeping me occupied enough to stay in that chair, right? And so like, you know, you could ask her. I get up, I walk around, I'll be swinging back and forth in my chair, but I'm there, right? You know, and so I always tell people excuses don't work with me because I have all of them. I have every single one that I could say, but I'm still here working and doing what I'm doing. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. None of it matters.
Yep.
So early on in business, I would let the negative people linger, and I think it would drive me crazy. And then there became this point where I was like, dude, I just don't want to be around negative people. Life is too short. I don't care if you sell a policy or not. I'd rather just like not be in the same state as you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's a right and a wrong way to do this.
Did you guys do that? Did you guys get to the point where you just don't want to be around the negativity? Like it ain't worth it, or?
Yeah, I think for me, I've just been like that from the beginning. I'm pretty much like me and Josh are good business partners because Josh is pretty cutthroat when it comes to stuff like that, and so am I. Like he'll remove it. He's like, if there's a cancer, I'm getting it out. I'm not about to let it spread to the rest of my team. I don't care. So he'll have a one-on-one conversation with you, see if we can move to a different course of action from there, and if not, it's like, all right, Mo, get out of here. You know what I mean? And that's how I am. Like, there's a right and a wrong way to do this. You're gonna come here. We're gonna do things the right way, and we're gonna make sure that we're all succeeding. But if not, then go work. There's a million other places to work. Go work there. That's
I feel like in the beginning I was a little bit more
Catering.
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I also didn't like the business as much.
Yeah. Same. I wasn't taking it seriously, and also we were so small still, and now that we have like such a big team, that it's like I want to protect the environment.
Exactly. The
And
culture.
Now it's like, okay, I don't care what happens, like that person necessarily, or if they did something or said something about me. I'm like, I want to protect my team and what we have going on because we have such an amazing environment now.
We do.
That I want to protect that. And so my aspect on that has changed. And now I can have those tough conversations with people and not be afraid to be like, hey, you can go do your thing. We're still here to help you, but you got to change your attitude if you want to be plugged in.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, in a commission-based job, if you go an entire month and don't work, you made $0, which means that you would have made more money working at McDonald's. You see what I'm saying? So it's like I always tell people, if you're not going to work, just go work somewhere else. It's not going to be worth it for you. If you want to go have a job where you can. Some people like to just sit back and do nothing and get paid.
That's not this program.
It's not this one. Not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. We work hard, play hard, you know?
Yeah. Well, you guys are killing it, man. I'm proud of you guys. I look forward to seeing what you guys do in the future.
Thank you for having me.
Keep up the good work. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing. I think this is going to help.